Tooth Fairy, and that scary monster under the bed. When you get older, you believe in anything's possible, and you can become that professional baseball player or astronaut. Then you finally get into the workforce, and you believe that you're going to have the house you dreamed of, 2 cars, that perfect wife or husband or child or Rottweiler that you dreamt of. As you get older, you believe that somehow you're going to retire and be able to sip margaritas by your lake house that you've retired to. And then you wake up and realize life maybe isn't quite as pristine as I'd hoped, as I'd believed. Perhaps, just perhaps, life has not given me what I think I deserved. And you start losing hope. Start wondering, was it all worth it? Is God even out there, you might question. And then you find yourself on a Monday night in front of your computer or telephone, or if you're really poor, standing at Best Buy using one of their computers. And next thing you know, why, you've stumbled upon a podcast that gives you hope, gives you life. And it's hosted by somebody that's not only deep and hysterical, but incredibly attractive. I wish I could be on your side of the screen, but I'm not. No, the cross I have to bear is on this side of the screen. And so I thank you for being with me as we have a lot of fun ahead, but a lot of important things to discuss. But the good news is, at least for tonight, your dreams have come true. For this is God's comic, Brad Stine. And this is my podcast, Brad Stine Has Issues. You know how I know it's authenticated? It comes with its own song. Do it, son. Well, welcome. Thank you. This is God's Comic. Brad Stine Has Issues, brought to you by Christian Podcast Central, a place that decided that if there was going to be a podcast and was going to have a Christian connected somehow, we wanted to centralize it. That's how they are. I don't mean it's some kind of socialist, communist matrix. I'm talking about just sort of a capitalistic view of aggregating things they could find that they found interesting and giving you a chance to go subscribe to Christian Podcast Central and thus help them make some dough, help your life to be more enriched, and, of course, for me to have a platform by which I can speak from what once was my storage space and has now become a full-fledged studio thanks to your contributions. If you're on for the first time and you've only become familiar with me because of my little clips on the internet, let me give you a quick synopsis. Brad Stine Has Issues is a place where comedy, Christianity, conservatism collide in a cacophony of clarity. I'd like to introduce myself, Brad Stine, God's Comic. I'd also like to introduce my son. His name is Wyatt Stine. I'd like to say that he's a full-time professional button pusher, but he's not. He works at Lowe's. Wyatt, did you find a wrench or not tonight?
Don't tell me about the wrenches. They keep moving them.
Mm-hmm. So are they adjustable wrenches? Ha-ha! That's the kind of funny stuff you're going to get if you hang on. Notice how you said moving and I said adjustable, so I was adding tension to the fact that it was being motivated. And do you see what I'm getting at? See how I'm saying?
If you're still with us, audience, I
was
sorry.
Anthropomorphizing the wrenches, son. You should have.
You were anthropomorphizing the lameness of that joke.
Okay, well, listen. I guess you're saying my wrench dope didn't measure up. I don't know what I'm going to do. Please, God, let me have a podcast like this I can watch. This quick, this clever. Wyatt, I got to go say hi to some of the folks out there.
Please do, because this whole comedy thing isn't really working out well.
All right, let's see who's number one. Ah! What is happening?
Okay.
Glesna Barabas, Jürgen Koizan. Hi from Upper Peninsula of Michigan. How did you jump on, Glesna? First, and by the way, guess who came in second? Sean Syriac. What? Roger Riggle is third? He's from Oklahoma, you know that. There's Benjamin, my old buddy that always uses us and puts links on. Hey, buddy, he's there, and he's fourth. Fifth is James Lyons. Oh, my goodness. Who else is number 6, son? I got to get the top 10.
Who else is number 6? I think one person's number 6.
Yeah. Hi, in jail on Tinsel account. Oh, hi, Gianna Sotomayor. James Lyons, Force Bainey, Hello White and Bright, Paula Faye Marie Rauchi. She's my what?
I couldn't tell.
My Quattro gal. Her name consists of 4
Sorry, I'm trying.
names.
I'm searching the comments for a distinct lack of Nick Kress. And
Brian Oberson is here. Evan Hamilton. Bro, I'm not going to have any of that. Not in this economy. I'm 23 and no outlook of owning anything. Is he serious? Wyatt, you're 26. He's 23. He says he has no outlook of owning anything. Is that how you feel, son? Is it that desperate?
Seems to be the way things are going.
Really? Is that how your age thinks about things, that life is just miserable and we don't stand a chance? And let me guess, it's our fault, the boomers' fault, huh?
I wouldn't go... I mean, you did leave us this world, so...
Okay.
I mean,
so
look.
How come we didn't complain about the world that was left us, that we turned into an absolute paradise of incredible upgrading of technology? We began the process of allowing personal computers, cell phones, cars that run on petrol. That was our idea.
Well, I guarantee you probably weren't complaining about that. Your generation, on the other hand, I'm sure that they had plenty of things to complain about that their previous generation left behind.
I don't know about
And I'm
that.
guaranteeing
I don't remember
you
us complaining about
that's going to be a trend that you can trace back about as far as humans invented complaining.
I want to know who's complaining, because I'm not. None of the baby boomers complain about nothing. We just suck it up and live like men. Hello, Brad and White. Canadian in the house. Yes, you give me hope. Hi, Danny Herring. That's a Canadian. Does Best Buy still exist? It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have like at least one.
Yeah, they're all here. They're all in this town.
We have hoarded them. You cannot have them. They're ours.
Okay, Letty Mario Bachata. Good evening, Brad. Hello. Scott McCowan says, my dreams come true. Penelope Cruz is your co-host. What? And be honest, would you say that your legs are as attractive as Penelope Cruz?
I mean, it's no secret. It's, look, there were some things that I pride myself in.
Okay.
And the one thing, well, it was the legs, right?
Yeah.
Is the legs. That is what I pride myself on.
So you have
Yeah.
Cruz-like legs, or Penelope-esque.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, you know how Pinocchio was famous for the nose?
Yeah?
I got the legs.
Do your legs grow when you lie?
Yes, and I'm still short.
Oh, you're not short, your son. What are you, 5'8"?
5'9" and a quarter,
Yeah,
which
look
seems
at
like
him.
Why do you need to subdivide by quarters for height?
Oh,
I'm
I
not
know.
that desperate. I'm average. That's about all I can ask for.
Hey, Tina Hall's here. We love you from Mount Airy, Mayberry. Why? Have you ever heard of Mayberry?
May.
North Carolina? You haven't. Okay. Have you ever heard of the Andy Griffith Show?
No.
You're 26, son. You don't hear a lot of things. Let me tell you something that happened this week. I want to kind of get a new segment on the podcast where we kind of make sure we discuss things that happened during the week, be more topical. Might give us a little clip that we can throw out into the marketplace and see if people are interested in your in my banter. What do you think, son? Do you think they're interested in our banter? I know when you and I banter, I'm not interested, but what about the other folks?
We've certainly had worse ideas in this show.
Good point. All right, let's try this one. So, they ruled that they are not going to allow trans athletes to compete in the college sports, elite sports. There was a swimmer called Leah Thomas, who was a man who had swam for the Penn State men's team, wasn't very good, but he magically became a woman, and he began to swim for the women's team. And it's going to be shocking. He dominated. Yeah. Might have been his legs. Could have been his Penelope Cruz-like legs. So I don't know. His were probably more like, Lance Armstrong's. I don't know. Just strong. Have you ever seen the thighs on those professional cyclists? They're like ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, they're bulbous.
They're bulbous would be the term. Yeah. And bulbous is used either on the thighs of a cyclist or on the nose of someone with severe alcoholic
And Lance didn't even need the steroids to get it.
No.
Still used them, but he didn't need them.
He didn't need anything. That's our Lance. Well, listen, here's what I want to ask you, son. What they said was this. They said, we're not going to allow this. It isn't fair. And you can be a transgendered athlete, and you can participate in the gender category you have chosen as long as you began your transition before the age of 12. So if Leah Thomas had started at 12, then he could have made the transition and become that, but he didn't. So they're basically saying he doesn't get to participate. Why? Have you ever been a woman?
Okay, that was not the direction I thought this conversation was taking.
My
give me a
goal
moment to recover
is to
from
throw
that mental flashbang you just threw me.
I have to throw you a curve every now and again to make sure you're getting your money's worth, or at least maybe I should have said I'm getting my money's worth.
Yeah.
You've already talked about having women's legs.
Women's like legs.
Oh my God.
Big difference, pal.
Yeah.
Context is key.
Hey, look what Tina Hall said. Absolutely love you. Thanks, Tina Hall.
Yeah, we needed that. We need more
Oh
of that,
my
actually.
gosh. Guess who showed up accidentally? Karen Boyd. Ha ha ha, poor Wyatt never can find the wrenches. Notice how she just comments on your lack of wrench discovery. Didn't mention why she's so late and why she's so deep in the line of what I thought was one of my top fans.
She was consoling Nick Kress on his recent loss.
I don't even know where he is.
I saw him. He was second. And then I look away for 2 seconds and his comment is just gone.
No,
like all of the top comments keep disappearing for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't see him anywhere.
Yeah, but I saw him second place. Silver medal.
Okay.
Not very good, but effective against vampires and werewolves.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, speaking of that, apparently, you know the old saying that vampires, they can't see the reflection in mirrors?
Yeah.
Apparently that was based off of the old Victorian era, where they used silver nitrate to make mirrors.
Yeah.
And since silver was considered a holy metal, that meant they can't see themselves. But modern mirrors don't use silver. So theoretically, if there were any vampires on the planet, you're good. You're safe.
Okay.
You can look at yourself all you want. Nothing's going to happen.
Well, I did not know that information.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So very interesting, very clever.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't do the research on mirrors and vampires, but Lade, that's no bad reflection on me.
Don't we have a podcast to get back to?
We do. Here's one I wanted to talk to you guys about because we got a great guest coming up here at the 7:30 hour. And why? How long is 7:30 from now?
That's about 17 minutes, give or take a few.
All right, give me some.
Okay. Do you want it in cash or check?
You said, give or take.
Yeah.
I took you literally that somehow you had transcended the linear time model, and we are no longer locked in a three-dimensional format, and the natural laws have somehow been circumvented by your power with a button, and you've been able to actually articulate a way to receive. Oh. That's my clock.
Keep the change.
It doesn't have... The clock came on.
Yeah, listen.
Put it in, plug it. Now I don't know what time it is. I'm scared.
It's been 2 minutes, man. Not even 2 minutes. It's not been 1 minute.
Put it back.
Jeez.
See, it's some weird clock that he got for us, and it like shines up what looks like wood, and then it disappears. But it literally shines. But we need. What we're going to have to get is a extension cord, so I can bring it over closer to me. Because I don't want you to be responsible for buttons, volumes, and changing time.
Look.
So that is good. Even Einstein feared such a task.
You know what? How about this? Since we're going off track, let's make a deal. You stay with the script and keep talking about what we're talking about, and I don't switch the clock back to sound activated.
Hey, Don Green's here from Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. I've been there, Don. I like Canada. I won't ever go again because you're a police state, but when I used to go, I enjoyed it.
So what, we're not going to comment about the hilarity that ensued when we first got this clock and it was sound activated?
Oh my gosh, it was. When he first got that clock, it wouldn't turn on, and then I would make like a noise, and like a clap on, clap off clock. It was ridiculous.
We couldn't figure out what the problem was. Eventually, I just flipped a magic switch that was there for some reason, and it was fine. Why do you need a clock that is sound activated?
I don't know.
Who's out there going, man, I really like this Rolex, but you know, it doesn't turn on when I snap my finger, so I'm going to have to pass on it.
Well, like I said, I mean, who knows? You're the one that bought it. I'm just going with it, son. I don't want to shame you any deeper than you've already been shamed over the time.
It's not my fault that Target thinks that they're the next Amazon and can stop sending things in store.
Yeah, good point.
Just like Walmart thinks that they can be the next Amazon by not sending things in store. Or how... Well, Lowe's thinks they can be the next Amazon,
which is the next Walmart, which is the next...
And then you've got Home
Google.
Depot, which thinks that it can be the next Lowe's, which thinks it can be the next Target, which thinks it can be the next Amazon, which thinks it can be the next Walmart.
All right, Wyatt, I think we're going to move on. And that was a great articulation, though, of where things are going in the retail market. Thank you so much.
No problem. Happy to help.
I need to talk quickly to the folks before our guest comes on about an idea that I was grappling with this week. You know, one of the things that people have been talking about a lot on social media and on media in general over the last number of years, son, is cancel culture.
Yep.
Now, what does your generation think of cancel culture? And you're 26, just turned 26, June 10th. What do you guys think about it? Is it something that is just part of the day-to-day for you guys? Does it make sense to you guys that that's the way the culture should operate?
It seems increasingly like it's just something that we accept as the norm, but that doesn't mean we are not hesitant to celebrate when somebody we don't like gets the cancel hammer slammed on their head.
Do you like it or you don't?
We do. Yeah,
you do like it.
We in fact, some groups revel in seeing people get canceled.
That sounds rather masochistic to me.
Sounds rather like
sadistic.
Every
would be
single like group since cancel culture became like a mainstream thing.
Well, here's why I wanted to bring it up, because I find that one of the things that I've talked about before in my podcast when it comes to this type of thing is the fact that there is no redemption. Because there's no forgiveness. And here's what's interesting about it. What has happened, and you guys all know this because you guys, are up to date on what's going on in the world, is that people can have some great life, some great career, some great amazing thing happening to them, and next thing you know, somebody, and it seems as though my son's group, their age group, are literally go digging around to see if they can find something to bring them back and say, yeah, I know that this guy has healed the 10,000 babies that were trapped in a fire in a factory, and he's saved them all. And I realize that he has rescued 4,000 puppies and kittens, and he has fixed their little paws that were hurt. And obviously, the guy found out a cure for cancer. At the same day, he figured out a cure for climate change. And we understand all that. And plus, he won 7 Oscars in a row. And we love the fact that he's woke and he is going with the narrative. But
20 years ago,
20
he
years
slightly offended me.
Yes.
Get rid of him.
20 years ago, he was an 8-year-old boy, and he was playing cowboys and Indians. He referred to them as Indians, not as Native Americans. Indians. Now, if that's the kind of character that you are going to lionize And sure, he did all these other things. But you can't just dismiss this evil thing that was done 20 years ago, because Lord knows all the rest of us have never made mistakes in our lives, have never done something we're ashamed of, have never said or behaved in a manner 20 years ago that we have moved on from. None of us have maybe already apologized to somebody or said sorry if that one hurt you. Or maybe, just maybe, we no longer think that way. We become a new person. Kind of like saying, hey, glad that you are sober and doing well, but I noticed that you were an alcoholic 20 years ago, so no, I can't be your friend. I can't have you around my family, because who knows what an influence you'll be, because you were an alcoholic 20 years ago. So, but I stopped 20, it doesn't matter. You were. And now I found it. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. No forgiveness, no change. Nobody gets a chance to grow, to redeem themselves. And one of the things that I am very, very adamant, and if you know the show, you know this, First Amendment, free speech, is by far the most sacrosanct construct in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, that the founders wanted us to have. The free autonomy and agency to speak as we chose, to worship and have the religious belief in public and private. If we wanted to walk out in the middle of a football field after a game as a coach for a high school team and pray, we had the right to do that. Couldn't do it by mandate, couldn't do it by law, but I had a freedom to do that. If I wanted to do anything I wanted, be an atheist and talk about that, I could do that. Just couldn't force people to be atheists by law. So it was about this freedom that really was what the First Amendment was all about, which also indicated how the press couldn't be a bridge. We couldn't have a government come in and change and tweak the press or manipulate the press or give them information and have them work on our behalf. And yet, that's what we have. We had the ability to redress our government, and they couldn't shut us down or put us in prison for a year, let's say, without charges. And we had this right to protest peacefully protest, which, by the way, has been redefined as what happens if you beat people over the head with bike locks, break windows, smash cars, inflame a building, and loot. That is now called a peaceful protest. So this is where we're at in America. Lies, deception, no forgiveness. This is what leftism is. It's based in Marxism, which is atheism. That's why Christianity, whenever was under the undergirding of a culture, was always superior, because it demands forgiveness, demands mercy, demands grace. But the reason I'm bringing this up to you guys is because I will not apologize ever for you being offended by something I said if what I said was not malicious, was not a lie, and certainly in my case was done under the auspices of a stand-up comic who's given a pass to behave in a certain way to make an ironic or general grander point about the culture at hand. So I'm not going to apologize. I can't, because I can't allow my integrity, my character, my freedom to be abridged by giving you some false apology to make you feel better about yourself. I'm not going to do it, and that is Christian to me, because it's dealing with truth at all times. But does that mean that everything I've ever said or done in the past I stand by? No. I'm going to show you a clip from a comedy album I did in 2008, maybe? I don't remember. I'm going to say 2008. It was my fourth album. I think it was. And it was called Wussification. It's one of people's favorite names of all my albums. But I want to show it to you real quick. And then show you a little introspection I've done as a man, as a Christian, as a comic, and just give you an example of how things can be frozen in time, because it's something you did back in the day, and how we're going to have to deal with changes and adaptations and editing and tweaking things in the future, because we live in an age where everything you've done is recorded forever. Wyatt, show them this clip, if you would, from Wussification.
And that's what I'm saying about America. We are not perfect. We are not going to do everything right. But at least we will always have the satisfaction of knowing at least we're not France. What? Is there a Western nation that went from leaders in technology and science and literature and art to become one of the thinking poster child for wussification? Stand for nothing now. Run away from everything now. What has happened to you? Heck, look at the sport they came up with. Bicycle racing. Ooh. Bicycle racing. They're all proud of their bicycle racing. They can't even find one French guy that can win their own dang race. Heck, we sent a good old Texas boy, Lance Armstrong, down there. He wins the stinking Tour de France 7 times in a row, and they freaked out. This is impossible. This is impossible. This cannot happen. We must check him for drugs. He must be on drugs. We must try drugs. He never had any drugs, but they continue to slander him. They continue to put him down. Oh, he has drugs everywhere. They found nothing. He finally quit, and we sent an Amish guy down there, and he blew him away. An Amish guy. Oh, and that's when they flipped their lid, man. They thought they hurt baby. Oh, this is impossible. He must be on drugs. We must find something. And they thought they hurt Pater. Ha ha. We knew it. We have tested him. And guess what we have found? He is filled with testosterone. Why, we have found this man is filled with testosterone. We knew something was wrong. We knew something was askew. For we have been testing Frenchmen for years. And we have never found any testosterone. God bless you, Texas. God bless my tribe, and God bless America, the greatest country there's ever been.
So, why did I show you that? Well, over the years, I've had, believe it or not, 2 routines from 2 different albums referencing France. The first one was done in 2004. So it was done during when we were trying to decipher the Iraq war and if we should do it, and we were looking for help from allies, and France didn't want to assist, and at that time I had done a rant about France and you know, not helping us when we needed help, and this is back in 04. And 2 albums later comes Wussification, and it was literally the close of that act was, at least we're not France, they would laugh, and then I would talk about the bicycle race. Now, at that time, there was all this controversy about Lance Armstrong, who we referenced earlier, and they were always testing him, and he was always coming up clean. And they said, I don't know what's wrong with these people. And to me, it was an arrogance of France. They didn't want Americans to win, and Lance dominated. And every year he just crushed it. And it was like, this is, oh my gosh, we're the best ever. And they would test, and he would be fine. He would be clean. That's what they said. And then when he retired one year, they brought in, what was the guy's name? Floyd Landers. I remember that guy because he was like a Mennonite or something from Pennsylvania or Amish. So I made the joke about, we bring an Amish guy and he blows him away because he had won, but he got caught and said, oh, he's got a illegal substance. So he was disqualified. But that's what I was referencing. And then, of course, the big payoff is, we found testosterone in his body too much, and we know something is wrong because we have been testing Frenchmen for years, and we have never found any testosterone. And big laugh, yes, no men. There's no men in France. And, of course, everybody's on the bandwagon about France didn't help us just a few years ago when we needed help in Iraq. And France is jealous and doesn't want an American to win. And I said, you guys can't even find a French guy to win. So it all worked out wonderfully. And it got great laughs. And it was a great closing bit for that year of that material. Lance Armstrong was a fraud. He doped. He blood doped. And nobody knew. And I trusted him, and I believed him. And I made a joke to support him and defend my fellow American. And guess what? That joke didn't hold up so well, did it? Did I look like an idiot? No, I think I looked naive, and I looked like somebody that wanted to believe the best of somebody and be part of a fan base of an American cyclist who literally dominated in a very ridiculously difficult sport. And I certainly didn't want to think he was a cheater. I wanted to revel in the fact that a human can reach such levels of competence in such a difficult sport and to dominate. I admire professional athletes because there's so few and far between that can reach that level of dominance in any sport. So I make a routine about that. It's on wussification. It's there to view the whole hour long, but that's always going to be there because that's what I did back then. And now they tested him because something was wrong. They were right. Something's wrong. Somebody shouldn't be able to do this time, every time, 7 times in a row. So do I owe France an apology? No. Because I was going by the best information I had, and the best information at that time was they tested him and he was clean. But what I am here to say is, as a professional comic whose entire career began to morph from just a guy trying to be funny, that was hard enough, and when everything shifted for me, it was when I decided to stand for something, to believe in something. It was first my faith, and secondly my values within the culture, which was conservative. And then my patriotism for my country, which I love. And so when I became an advocate for ideas, and that was going to be inculcated into my comedy, then I was jumping into a category of comedy that was not typical, and it was probably the least weighted into of the comics. Those who stood for social issues, those who had cultural constructs they wanted to really dissect in a deeper level, not just men and women are different, but let's go deeper than that. So that's in the George Carlin category. That's in the Mort Saul category. That's in the Dick Gregory category. That's in the Richard Pryor category. Okay, guys like that kind of went deeper. And that's what I became, but I became that for the right because they didn't have a guy. So I was proud of that. I was glad I could fill that void for my people. But I have a deeper, more serious obligation because of my faith to be a truth teller. And so in some ways, my loyalty to him, yeah, you get egg on your face. But I wanted to show you in real time how I did something with passion and integrity and best intent, and how years later it can come back to bite you in the butt. But I'm not that guy. When I found out Lance Armstrong cheated, I was repulsed by that. And I wanted him to get the full weight of punishment because he made an embarrassment and a laughingstock of Americans and of sport. And he lied to us. And he had this cancer foundation. Everybody believed in this guy. So I believe that justice should be served on him. But I can't make that tape go away any more than you can make that text you did 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago go away. It's there forever. And unless it was malicious, unless it was designed to hurt somebody, that it was just mean-spirited and designed to, not because somebody became offended because they disagreed with you, I'm not going to apologize for that, because that just gives some credence that their offense has more weight than my freedom to speak truth. Because if I believed that their feelings take precedence over my freedom, then all I have to say is, I'm offended that you're offended, now you apologize to me. It's a game for children. I'm not interested. I want my podcast to help inspire us to get better, to get healed, to fix things, to see if we can find an answer to this cancer that is wokeism, that is CRT, that is Marxist-driven, that started in the late 20s at the Frankfurt School in Germany. And it's all here. And it is real close to destroying everything America was. And if we're gone, nobody has a shot. Look what's happened to Canada. Look what's happened to Australia. That stupid virus with 0.3%, deaths. One of the lowest pandemic death in human history, just almost incalculably irrelevant compared to real pandemic, showed what happens when you can't defend yourself as a people, when you no longer have autonomy and freedom as a people. And that kind of brings me to my guest. Is Victoria here? What?
Yes, she is.
Okay, great. So I want to move to my guest, and this is somebody that I have known for many years. I first met her and her daughter, Colby, in I think, maybe 2000. I'm not sure. It was a number of years ago. It was during the filming when I had filmed the movie Persecuted that was out in theaters, and we were at I'm pretty sure it was at the Variety luncheon for Variety magazine, and we were having a panel with some of the actors and producers and directors of that film were there in Hollywood. So there was Gray Fredrickson, who was the producer of The Godfather and the producer of Apocalypse Now, and had hung out and roomed with Marlon Brando. He was the producer of this film, so I got to hear stories about Marlon Brando and that. He produced The Godfather, for crying out loud. I was there with Gretchen Carlson, who eventually went on and probably launched the Me Too movement when she sued Roger Ailes at Fox. She was in the movie with me. We were friends. I was with Daniel Lusko, who wrote it, directed it, and got it produced. I was there with, who else was there? Fred Thompson, the late Fred Thompson, great actor. He was on panel. And she was there with her daughter because they'd had a reality show. And we got to meet, we got to talk. Come to find out she lives in Nashville too. We became friends. But more importantly, we became aware of the fact that both of us had a very deep commitment to a particular cultural, moral element that drove us, and that was pro-life. She was a staunch pro-life advocate, as was I. I do many fundraisers for pregnancy resource centers to help them raise money. And of course, now we find ourselves where pregnancy resource centers are being terrorized, literally by domestic terrorists. You wouldn't know that because they're not protected by the Attorney General. They're not protected by anybody. This is just what's happening now. If you are a Supreme Court judge and somebody who doesn't like what decision you might have and they try to intimidate you, which is illegal, nobody's going to do a thing about it. We actually had to fight to get congressmen to vote for them to have more protection. So that's where we're at. But I wanted to introduce you to her because she's a wonderful woman and has a wonderful, amazing life and history and story. So let's bring her on. Her name, Victoria Robinson. Why do I have to shift over to here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just...
Bring her on. Bring her on.
Hi, Brad.
We'll turn on your computer.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Brad?
There she
There
is.
she is.
Hey, how are you, kiddo?
I'm good. How are you? It's so good to see you.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. So
I can hear
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. I hear an echo, though. Can you hear that echo, or we're good?
Hang on.
As long as you guys don't hear the echo, we're good.
Okay. I think it should be better. Is it off?
Hello. Yep, that's better.
No more echo? I think it should be better. Is it off?
Hello. Yep, that's better.
No more echo? Okay, she's starting to lag. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, if you can hear me, that's all that matters. So sometimes we get some lag, unfortunately, on this. So you'll hear me, but my face isn't catching up to what I'm saying. But it's okay because people will be able to watch anyways. Because I'm hearing my own guy come back through. Why? Is that typical? My own voice? Hello?
Hello.
Is that better? Okay.
I think it's fixed.
Go ahead and talk, Victoria. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Brad. It's great to see you.
I don't think you can hear her without the audio on.
I think it's fixed. I can hear you, Brad.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, Brad. It's great to see you.
All right. Well, somehow, yeah.
I can hear you, Brad.
Okay. Hang on.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
Should I plug this into?
Oh, is it?
All right. Well, somehow, yeah. Remember how I plugged this into the computer one time and I could listen? Let's see. Hang on, Victoria. We're professionals, I promise. Hang on, Victoria. We're professionals, I promise. All right. Where is the... Here it is. Okay. All right, we're going to try it from here and see what happens.
Okay.
That might be it. That might just be it. I don't think it's... All right. Well, anyways. So anyways, you're in North Carolina.
I am right now in North Carolina. I'm
And
speaking
so-
at some events this week.
Okay. And you are dealing with a yeah, this is really hard, Wyatt, because it ain't working. I mean, I keep hearing my own echo back to me. Are you sure you turned off this?
Mike's muted, yeah.
Okay.
Shouldn't be hearing anything.
We've never had this particular issue,
I don't get that.
so I just want to make sure.
I can hear you, Brad. You're on
Okay,
a little...
I'll just, as long as you can hear me fine, then we're going to assume that everybody is not hearing what I'm hearing, and I'm going to try to muddle through.
To it. It's fine. It's just you.
Okay. So let's cut to the chase. So I was telling him, I don't know if you heard my intro to you,
but I was talking about when we first met, and I think it was at Hollywood at that variety luncheon when I was there for Persecuted. Is that what you remember?
I do remember that.
So at that time, didn't know that you had I think a reality show with your daughter, and then you guys were running that. But what was more important was I learned about your pro-life stance and the things that you had advocated for when it came to that, because I had done a lot of pro-life fundraisers for pregnancy resource centers and things along that. So I loved it. I loved what could be a more important thing to deal with than life, and especially the most innocent of all lives. So when you got involved in it, and I would like to say, well, as a woman, that would be kind of a natural thing to get involved with, but it's not, because clearly some of the biggest Planned Parenthood advocates and those who are pro-choice are women. So was there anything specific in your life that caused you to resonate towards the pro-life point of view?
Yes, unfortunately, I chose abortion 35 years ago. And I would have told you, Brad, up until that point, when I was a single mother in a desperate situation whose husband had deserted her and her children, that I was pro-life. And then I ended up finding myself pregnant after my husband left and being convinced by the abortion clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina, actually, not far from where I'm at right now, telling me there was nothing there than more than a blob of tissue and a clump of cells. Since I was 6 to 8 weeks pregnant, it would be nothing more than getting a tooth pulled or a tumor removed. So I believed it. I was desperate. I was very vulnerable. And the abortion industry preys on women in the most vulnerable time of their life. And they manipulate them into believing what they're saying is truth. And when you're a woman in that kind of a desperate situation, you believe what you need to believe, and they know it. So I chose abortion. It affected my life greatly negatively for the next decade. And then I decided I needed to help other people to not make that same choice. I've dedicated the last 25 plus years of my life to the pro-life cause. I've dedicated the last 25 plus years of my life to the pro-life cause.
And when you had the abortion, was it like a crisis? I mean, was it more like at that time it was like, oh yeah, I got pregnant, I'm not ready for this, so you just get rid of it, or was there something about the situation that was more dramatic for you to make that call, or did you feel like, well, that's just what you do when you get pregnant and you're not married, you just get rid of it?
No, I was just desperate, Brad. I had a husband who had left me and two little girls that were 18 months old and 3. I was working 12 to 14 hours a day just to feed them and take care of them. And now here I was a year later pregnant with a guy I was dating that I thought I would marry one day and have children with. When I told him I was pregnant, it wasn't something I was excited about telling him. But then I had to hear him say to me, we're not ready for a baby. We're not married. You're already struggling with the 2 you have. I think your only option is abortion. So it was a word that was never involved in a conversation with myself. As I said, I would have told you I was pro-life at the time. But when a woman is that desperate, I'm barely able to feed my children. I was so close to government assistance, but I was determined not to do that and just picked up a second job. I'm putting them in daycare from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. every night. It is easy to manipulate a woman who's that desperate, and they were able to do it. And I was lied to. And that's what happens with the majority of women who walk into abortion clinics. I won't say every woman, because there are those women who are sleeping around and they'll flippantly say, if I get pregnant, I'll just have an abortion. They think it's no big deal to them until later on when it hits them. So the boyfriend's pressuring me. The abortion clinic's telling me it's not a baby. There's nothing there. You're so young, you can have children later. You'd be a very selfish mother to have another child when you can barely feed the two you have. So then you're wondering if they're all right, if everybody's correct. So when I went to the abortion clinic right up the road from here in Charlotte, North Carolina, 35 years ago, there were no picketers that day. There was no one offering options to me. The parking lot was only filled with women there to have abortions. So no one took me aside and said, hey, let me show you an ultrasound and show you what's really happening in your womb. Hey, let me help you get the resources you need. Why are you here? And I would have said, I don't know how I'm going to take care of another child. I can barely take care of the two I have, but I love them and I'm a good mom. So it was pressure. It's the manipulation from the abortion industry. It's the lies that our government feeds us that abortion is not a big deal. They put more warnings, Brad, on a cigarette carton about the effects smoking has on your body and your health than they do with women walking in abortion clinics that are ending the life of their children. It is not natural for us as human beings to kill our children. So when a woman realizes what she's done, then she's got to deal with the ramifications of the choice.
Well, and like you said, I mean, you said it a couple times. You were lied to, you were manipulated, and some people might look at that as a cop out, like, hey, you made that call. I mean, nobody made you do that. They might see it as kind of you looking for some sort of, I don't know,
sympathy,
like I said, a scapegoat for not having to deal with this decision. But by the same token, it's easy, for example, if you grew up in a somewhat intact home. I've said this before. My dad, I remember years ago, said to me, he was an auto body repairman. He's no longer alive, but so he didn't make a lot of money. He wasn't any glamorous thing, but he said to me, son, you can be anything you want in America if you're willing to work hard enough. Now, I've had a decent career in my life. I've done a lot of things that I believe God wanted me to do. And, I've had a lot of amazing opportunities in doing things that I've always wanted to do, movies, and I was a comic, and I did all these things that, seemed pretty glamorous or whatever. So in some ways I achieved things, I'm not Tom Cruise, but I've done all the things I always kind of wanted to do in my life. And the only thing that I did, to me, differently than maybe other people was my dad said I could be anything I want, and I believed him. Okay, well, that's how the game works. All right. So I had somebody to watch over and give me that inspiration, a father, which is, we had a guest on last week talking about the idea of the greatest crisis really in the inner city and maybe in America is fatherlessness, is not having that male father to be there to help guide and direct. And coming from the clinics, the costs that women endure who grow up without a father in the home. Most of their abuse comes from stepfathers or boyfriends or whatever of the mom. So the reason I brought up that story was that it's easy to tell somebody, well, listen, just pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, make the right decision, do the right thing. But if you don't have somebody there to teach you those things and to expect them to suddenly just make the right decision, they might, but that's an awful lot to ask from a young, vulnerable young lady who's 16 years old, who's about to find out that if my parents find out, they're going to kick me out of the house. I'm going to feel ashamed. I've been abandoned by this boyfriend who I thought loved me. And we're asking them to make a very, very mature, adult, sacrificial decision at an age that you can barely, you just barely got your driver's license. So they're easily manipulated. But when a young woman is in that position and she doesn't have help, do you think that is maybe the greatest strength of a pregnancy resource center? And I know you were with Save the Storks. I don't know if you're still, probably should ask you if you're still with them, but with groups that try to negotiate life for these young girls who don't have anybody else to walk with them and get them through that. Would you say that that is one of the misconceptions about pregnancy resource centers. We hear this all the time. All you guys care about is having those babies, and then you don't give a crap what happens to the woman and the baby. Not true. They'll spend years helping them. So what has your experiences been when it comes to these PRCs and the amount of effort they will go in to help each individual young girl come to have the child, and then help them beyond that?
Well, first of all, I am no longer with Save the Storks. I started a nonprofit myself 9 months ago called Reassemble, where I'm offering counseling to men and women who are suffering from the trauma of choosing abortion, which is something not enough of us are talking about. And the reason the abortion industry doesn't want us talking about it is because they know that they don't want the world to understand, and that the gig is up. Men and women are suffering from an abortion decision for decades, some of them for decades, until they get help. So that's what I'm focusing on now. I've been doing this work for 25 plus years, but now I'm focusing just on that. What would I say about pregnancy resource centers, Brad? I was a CEO of 3 different pregnancy resource centers for 25 years of my career before I branched out doing what I'm doing now. And I can tell you that if you call a Planned Parenthood tomorrow and ask them for a free ultrasound, they're not going to give it to you. If you ask Planned Parenthood tomorrow for free diapers, free baby clothing, free pregnancy tests that followed up by an ultrasound, free formula, baby food, maternity clothing, strollers, cribs, etc., they're going to say you've got the wrong number. So if we're going to talk about what pregnancy resource centers as opposed to Planned Parenthood, here's all you need to know. Planned Parenthood kills babies, and that's their bread and butter. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that's their bottom line. Call them and ask them for a mammogram or a pap smear, like they feed you this narrative of crap that they give. It's not true. Their number one product is abortion. So call a Planned Parenthood, ask them how they're going to help you. And let's see how far you get with that. Call a pregnancy resource center in your community and watch how quickly they'll come to your aid. Not judging you, not condemning you, but they're there to help you. So there's the difference. It's infuriating to me as someone who's been so intimately involved with pregnancy resource centers. I too speak at their banquets. I've got several coming up to help them raise money. That's one of my favorite places to speak, is at pregnancy resource center banquets, to help them raise the money, because they're not taking government assistance that the multi-millions of dollars Planned Parenthood freely takes, because they're given from our government. Why do we think our government is so abortion hungry? Because organizations like Planned Parenthood are giving them the money under the table to help them buy their mansions and their boats. And that's why they walk out of Congress or as a senator with multi-millions of dollars in the bank when they're making, what, 150 grand a year? So people are so ignorant, or they just don't want to pay attention, or they want to keep their heads in the sand because it's not something they want to deal with the truth about our government and abortion and their partnership with organizations like Planned Parenthood. Why do they not protect pregnancy resource centers? As you said at the top of this interview, Brad, they're being attacked. There's an organization called Jane's Revenge who has put out an email that it's open season on pro-life leaders like myself and pregnancy resource centers once Roe is overturned, which it will happen. We've got pregnancy resource centers that are being burned down, vandalized, and nobody's doing anything about it. I don't even think the media is talking about it. Why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative, and they can't make their side look bad. So I am not for also radical pro-life people shooting abortionists or shooting Planned Parenthood clinic workers either. I'm not for violence. So you're going to have those crazy loons on both sides. They're cuckoo, in my opinion. And the bottom line is, people want to hurt someone like me, Brad, because I'm trying to save children's lives. Yeah. That's asinine. Not only that, because I'm helping people, men and women, who are dealing with the trauma of choosing an abortion. If Planned Parenthood organizations care so much about women's health, Brad, then why don't they tell women the truth? Why didn't they tell me the truth? Why didn't they give me all the facts when I was in that abortion clinic? Why didn't they let me look at the ultrasound that they kept hidden from me so I would not see my baby's heartbeat? Why, when a woman takes the abortion pill and she calls them and says, I've changed my mind, what do I do? Don't they tell them about the abortion pill reversal? Because it's available. They've already got their money. They've already paid for the abortion pills. Why do they not tell them they can reverse their abortion? They have a chance. It's not in every case, but over 4,500 babies have been saved by girls who changed their mind after taking that first pill. Why doesn't the abortion industry tell them about the abortion pill reversal? They don't. But they care about women. It's a crock.
Yeah, no, indeed. And, I always find it so beyond ironic that we now have this leftist domestic terrorist groups who want to threaten to kill pro-life people that are trying to help women through. And the reason they want to kill them is because they're trying to keep them from having the right to kill their babies. So either way, it's about murder and death. It's the most.
It's demonic.
It's demonic.
There's no other word for it, Brad. It's demonic. And I think when I was interviewed by the BBC last week, and the reporter said to me, "Do you think there's going to be an uproar if Roe's overturned?" I said, "What planet are you living on? Are you kidding me? It's going to be things like you've never seen before, because it's demonic. To kill children is not natural. And we are going to pay a price for allowing abortion in this country." She also asked me, "When will you be satisfied? When will people like you finally just be, stop with your pro-life stuff," or some kind of question like that. I said, "When abortion's eradicated, that's when." People think when Roe's overturned, women can't have access to abortion. That's not true. They're not. There will be states that will always offer abortion.
Yeah.
So that's the narrative they're painting. That's why you and I both know that the opinion was leaked on purpose, because they needed to gather their mob together to get ready for when Roe's overturned.
Yeah. Well, I think that probably the answer to that question, is when are you going to be enough, is not just when it's eradicated, which is crucial because that's doing the damage. But how about when, as a community of humans, we no longer consider it moral or okay to kill babies? It should be unheard of to have ever justified that in our minds, in our spirit. Like you said, it's such a broken conscience of what has been created by giving people the right to, in history, murder without any repercussions. But one of the things I really wanted to ask you about, because you're an expert, unfortunately, not just in the understand. Yeah.
I need to stop you. She lost.
Oh.
She lost us.
Okay.
I'm not sure how. It's just her feed stopped. That's easy. I can
ask her if she can just come back on. Can she just call back?
I can try, but usually with VMX, I just get to set up a whole new thing. Shouldn't take me more than a minute.
Okay. So am I on still with everyone live?
Yeah,
I see her.
I
see her.
There she is.
I'm back. I got cut. I somehow got cut off.
I don't know how that could possibly happen. I'm just a Christian conservative podcast on Facebook. Anyways, well, I'm glad you're back. I hope. Looks like she froze up again on me. Who knows? Well, anyways, guys, I am still. They can still see me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, here's the thing. As you can see, she is passionate for what she believes, and she is a advocate deeply for pro-life. I wanted to ask her some more questions, so we're going to try to get her back on, and we'll see what happens. But if she can get back online with us, then we have more things to ask. And I would ask that you guys ask yourselves, perhaps, and talk to yourselves as we are discussing this, trying to get her back up. How would you as a human justify the idea that pro-choice means that a human being has to die. It's simply what it means. Now, do you believe that the people that do these pro-choice advocates, do you think they really don't think it's a human that a woman is carrying when she's pregnant? Do you think they've convinced themselves of that? Or do you think they've somehow so separated themselves from any kind of moral compass because they so much want women to not have to pay any kind of price for her indiscretion, And I know how it started. I know exactly why this right was given to women because of the sexual elements of Marcuse and the sexual elements of cultural Marxism that was part of the Frankfurt School. They wanted sex to be something that was done for fun, for pleasure. It was very hedonistic. They wanted women who have always carried the burden, literally, no pun intended, of if they get pregnant, they're the ones that have the child. They're the ones that carry the child. They're the ones whose body is altered. They're the ones that have to deal with it. The men, and have done for thousands of years, get pregnant. They split. So they had no integrity. They had no virtue. They had no morality. Those type of men, and as in literally part of the process of cultural Marxism, which is of as political correctness, that's now morphed into critical race theory and all the critical theories, was to let women be equal. And part of the equality of women was to be as free with their sexual license and to be unburdened by a pregnancy like a man. So they literally were saying, we need to dumb women down and make you as immoral as men have been all these years. And so has it been fair to women? Not at all. Can I see a woman thinking to herself, screw this, he didn't do anything, I'm stuck with this thing, we both participated, but I'm the only one, holding the bag. So I understand why someone would be very resentful about the scenario, no question about it. But it looks like Victoria, thank God, is back, and I'm so grateful because there's so much I want to talk to you about, Victoria. You're so good at this because, and like I said, you're an expert in some bittersweet way. Because not only are you an expert when it comes to being part of pregnancy resource centers and have helped so many women through this difficult process and probably have seen some amazing redemptive stories, but you experienced it. So one of the things that I think is missing, as in all leftist narratives, like the transgender, they don't talk about the repercussions that happen when you try to transition. They don't talk about the health issues. They don't talk about the horrible results of some of these things that happen. They never tell them. They just want the money, and these people end up with butchered, destroyed bodies. And for those who want it back, there's no going back. It's just so evil. I don't know how to deal with it, but so much of it, I think, hinges, to be honest with you, Victoria, so much of the transgender movement and momentum, I think a lot of these things hinged on the whole women's rights movement when it came to abortion, because, hey, if you can get the culture to think that killing a baby is no big deal, there's nothing, all bets are off. I can kill babies? How can it get worse than that? So tell me about what they don't tell women. You said that in your story. They didn't tell me, they didn't show me my heartbeat. They didn't show me this, but I want to go beyond that. What is it that they don't tell women who've had an abortion and they send them on their merry way? Well, enjoy your life. And they don't talk about the depression, the emotional crushing distress. They don't talk about the suicidal elements that sometimes crop up. Talk to our people who are watching this about that part of the woman's now has become part of her life now because she's had an abortion. That will be with her the rest of her life, that nobody talks about. What are those pieces of the puzzle and nobody hears?
Well, thanks, Brad. I'm glad we got back on. And if we keep dropping, we'll do this again when we. You think it's a coincidence? This is the one show that you keep losing? No, it isn't. This has happened when I've done other interviews before with people that'll say, "That's never happened before." Yeah, well, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
um, what happens to women after, and I want to, I'll tell you that, Brad, but I can't tell you that without talking about the men as well, because that's one of the subjects we haven't talked about a lot in this country. We tell men to sit in the corner, sit down, shut up, it's not your body, when it's not hers either. And we have emasculated men to the degree they don't know what to do. They don't know how to behave. And so shame on us that we have degraded men to the point to make them feel like they don't matter or we don't need them. Women can go get pregnant now without the guy. They just walk into a sperm bank. So how else are men supposed to feel? You don't even need me for that now. So we'll talk about that in a second, because I want to tell you a quick story about how impactful that is. But as far as the women go, that woman actually looked at me, Brad, and said, when you leave here, never think of it again. You're so young, you can have more children later. I crying. She knew I was on the fence. She knew, and she went full speed ahead, Brad, because she needed that $350 cash that she knew was in my pocket. And so I was crying and saying, are you sure? Are you sure? I have 2 children. I know the outcome of a pregnancy, but honey, you're so early. It's not even a baby. That's why we need to take care of it now. And you're going to be just fine. When you leave here, never think of it again. What a liar. I thought about it every day. And then she told me, do you think our government would allow you to have an abortion if it could harm you in any way? Brad, that's a whole show. And so they say what they need to say. What she didn't tell me was I'd start dating guys who knocked me around, cheated on me, because I thought I deserved it. What she didn't tell me was my self-esteem would be shot to pieces, because I couldn't even look in the mirror at myself, because I killed my own baby. Because when I walked into that abortion clinic, Brad, I was not the same woman who walked out. I knew when I walked out instinctively, I had just done something really, really bad, and that it was something that changed me immediately. I became a different mother. What they don't tell you is some of you will become women who smother their children because you are so fearful God's going to take one for what you did. So if they even leave the room, you're paranoid. If they go away with grandparents or on play dates, you can't even breathe until they walk back in the door. You don't live a full life. What they don't tell you is, this didn't happen for me, but I've counseled and met thousands of women in my career who've become promiscuous because they just want to feel anything. They're so numb after choosing abortion. Women who become alcoholics, drug addicts, workaholics, they just want to do anything to bury the pain. They're taking antidepressants like candy, but it's still not doing anything for them. They become zombies, some of these women. They can't have healthy relationships. Their sex lives in their marriages are very unhealthy. They just lay there. I've heard this from women and from men, that I don't enjoy sex. I want nothing to do. And sex in marriage is important. So it invades in every aspect of their life. For me, as I said, it was relationships that I got involved with men I should have never been dating, let alone married. I felt I deserved to be unhappy, because, hey, why would God let me be happy? I killed my baby. They don't tell you about the depression that women go through. They don't tell you about any of that. Now I want to quick about the men. I called the father of my aborted child. It had been over about 10 years since we had spoken, because we broke up 9 out of 10 times, Brad. When an abortion occurs, couples don't make it. It's too traumatic of an experience staying together, being reminded of what you did. So girls are having abortions to keep their boyfriends or their husbands, and because they're making them those promises. If you'll just do this, we'll have kids later. That's what my boyfriend said. If you'll just do this, I'll stay with you. So they're having abortions. They lose the boyfriend, the husband, and they've lost their baby on top of it all. So I called the father of my aborted child because my first book was coming out. They lied to us. I wrote a book about women's stories who chose an abortion, how it impacted their life, and my own story was in the book. And I felt he needed to know because I wanted him to not hear about it from somewhere else and then be panicked. Oh no, people are going to know she's talking about me. So I wanted to tell him I took out any identifying factors. Brad, we had not talked in 10 years. I got his number, called him. I said, "Hi, it's me." Apparently I have a distinctive voice. He recognized it immediately. And he began to sob. He couldn't even talk. And when he finally composed himself, he said, "I've been waiting for this call for a decade to beg you for forgiveness for what I made you do. I should have protected you and our child, and I failed you both. And if I could go back, I would change it. Can you please forgive me?" He said, "It's haunted me all these years, and I've been in therapy for 8 years dealing with it." In that moment, Brad, I realized two things. One, I hadn't fully forgiven him because I was still holding resentment and bitterness towards him. You're right, I walked in that abortion clinic. No one put a gun to my head. No one dragged me in. Part of my healing process had to be looking in the mirror and taking responsibility for that choice. I laid on that table, and I can remember looking up at the ceiling thinking, "Get out of here. What the hell are you doing, Vic? Get off this table." But I couldn't even speak. I was so paralyzed with fear of what everybody was going to think, what my boyfriend was going to say. Oh my gosh, this doctor who's just walked in, am I going to make him angry? I mean, you're paralyzed. So the first thing I realized was, I'm not the only one hurting here. This guy's hurting. I haven't forgiven him, and he's been suffering. I thought he'd gone on with his life and forgotten all about me and our baby, but he hadn't forgotten. So I felt like God spoke to my heart in that moment, Brad, and he said, "Do not ever forget that these children do not just have mothers. They have fathers too. And these fathers are hurting." And from that moment on, any platform I've ever spoke at, any event I've ever spoke at, I've always talked about the men. And my second book, Brad, just came out 3 weeks ago called They Lied to Us Too, TOO. And it's stories from men who were impacted by an abortion, whether they participated in it by forcing her to do it, talking her into it, manipulating her, or they didn't know she was pregnant. These men have been impacted by abortion. These children have two parents, and both of those parents matter.
Well, I love that book and telling real stories about people because, again, that's the real crux of the matter is you can't escape. There's some things you do in your life that you can kind of move on from and just live and learn. But abortion is one of the unique moments in your life, if unfortunately it occurred in your life, that is unique. It's because you destroyed something sacred, and you can't.
And let me say this, Brad. You're absolutely correct. And when women say to me, when they come to my retreats, I do after abortion recovery retreats with women. I'm about to do my first men's retreat with men. When I'm counseling one-on-one in a group session, however, whether it's even on Zoom, that's what we've started doing during COVID. We had to figure this out because the phone and my messages was through social media or email didn't stop just because of COVID from these men and women saying, "Help me. I cannot live with this anymore." And what they'll ask is, does pain ever go away? And what I tell them is, when you accept Christ's forgiveness, because Christ forgives for all things, including abortion, you can find a place to live a fulfilling life because I've done it. I've been single a long time, Brad. I won't settle. And there are men that I could have gotten involved with that I would have 15 years ago. Buddy, I'm a daughter of the King, and I'm not settling until I find God's best or God's best finds me. Yeah. So I'm a different woman today because of Jesus and how he has brought me through healing than I was in the past. And red flags that women like me see now, if they've been healed, they will run the other direction. But in the past, it was, well, I probably deserve him. So healing is important. So organizations like mine, reassemblelife.com, or you can go victoriarobinson.org to learn about Reassemble and get in touch with me if you're interested in getting help. I'll
Yeah.
connect you with your pregnancy center in your community,
Yeah.
however it works. Finding healing is important. But just like an alcoholic who's reformed, Brad, will always crave that drink to a degree. The woman or man who chooses abortion will always long to hold that baby. So it never goes away. A woman came up to me, Brad, once. I was speaking at an event, a pregnancy center banquet, and I had cried when I shared. Sometimes when I'm sharing, I get emotional. Sometimes not so much, but it happens. And she walked up to me and she was really sweet, and she didn't mean anything by this. But she said, Victoria, are you sure that you've accepted forgiveness? Are you sure you're healed? And I said, what do you mean? She said, you just cried and got emotional, and it made me feel like, oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe she hasn't really fully accepted Jesus's forgiveness, or she hasn't fully come full circle in her healing. And I looked at her and I said, do you have children? She said, I have 3. If you lost one of them, how would that impact your life? She said, oh my gosh, I'd be devastated. I think I'd grieve the rest of my life. I said, well, that's like women like me. We're going to grieve our children for the rest of our life. But we, just like parents who've lost children, go on. And they want to honor their children by living and doing something to honor them. I honor my child, Brad. My child did not die in vain by the thousands of children that I'll never know about until I get to heaven, that have been saved by hearing my story, that a woman heard it or read my book and didn't choose abortion. So my child did not die in vain. And so that's what keeps doing the work that I do.
No, that's so beautiful. And, I do know you personally. You are very strong and disciplined, and you don't settle. And, you have 4 beautiful daughters, and you've raised them, with
10 grandchildren now, Brad. I have 10 grandchildren.
Good for you. And I love that, you are so disciplined and simply realize that as much as anybody wants to have a companion in their life, somebody to love them and whatever, it's like, but if they're not God breathed, if it's not something that's going to complete my life and the rest of my journey, it's not something I need. No, I love that. I'm, obviously it's devastating to know that you can't fix that incident. You can't make it go away. Yeah. But, I also often say to
abortion is a permanent solution, Brad, to a temporary problem.
Yes.
And
yes.
It truly is. And there are so many resources available for women in crisis pregnancies, but the abortion industry doesn't want them to know that.
No.
I've had so many women say, I wish I'd have known that pregnancy center would have given me a crib. I wish I'd have known they would have walked through this journey with me. I didn't know. I didn't know there was help available. There's so many resources. And back to the single thing, Brad, I have said this for 20 plus years. And one day, Brad, you're going to have to tell me, because I know you do t-shirts. I want it on a t-shirt. It is better to be single than wish you were. And too many people are settling. And you know what? Wait for God's best, because you deserve it.
Well, no, that is a great t-shirt. You should do that. That would sell like crazy. Well, 2 things I want to say as I let you go, and thank you so much for taking time to do this. I know what it's like to be somewhere and you got things to focus on and somebody asked you to do this, but we're friends, and I know that what you had to say is so important. And with this Roe thing that's clearly going to be coming pretty soon, I just think it's important to get this conversation out there for people to prepare, but to also hear this side of the story and to hear the pro-life side. Who are we and what we actually care about? This isn't a caricature that they've created that is who we are, but in fact, we're the ones that have the most concern about these young ladies, their child, and the rest of their life. 2 things I want to say to you. Number one thing I've learned about God is he never wastes the pain, and he won't allow you to either. Jesus died, one guy died, crucified, dies, rises from the dead, and that one death has saved trillions of human beings. There was that crucifixion that God asked him to do was worth it to him, because it was going to save trillions. And I realize in life as a Christ follower that we get crucified. There's moments in our lives of crucifixion. that we go through a hell, and we don't want to, and we don't like it. But God will redeem us and he'll restore us. And he said, now that I've trusted you with that pain, because you're now going to go heal thousands, hundreds of thousands. And not only did your abortion story allow you to do just that when you speak to people, when you counsel them, but I also want to say, to the glory of God, that your child's death, that sacrifice, because the child's with God. The child's okay. The child is in eternity, living in a life it couldn't have imagined. But that death has saved thousands of children's lives. So there's a redemptive story there that's beautiful, and let's honor your child by always remembering how many lives that child has saved through that circumstance. Lastly,
Thank you for saying that, Brad. Thank you for saying that. I always say that there are babies alive today because my baby died.
That's right, and that's true, and that's a beautiful thing. You took a difficult, dark, sinful choice, and you allowed God to redeem it and restore it and heal. And that's the greatest thing one can do, is not to stay in that muck and mire, but to use it to actually make something beautiful come out of it. Before I let you go, my podcast gets shared a lot, and we like to make small little clips of it to send it out, because there'll be moments that are funny or poignant or whatever. So I'd like you to leave us with a poignant one. And here's what I wanted to say. So I'm going to set it up and then you answer. Right now, there's a woman out there who has either thought about getting an abortion or has had one. And she's devastated. And it might have happened 10 minutes ago. It might have happened 10 years ago. And she doesn't believe that there's any way out of this pain, out of this darkness, out of this guilt, out of this shame. There's just no answer. I guess she feels as though she's just going to have to live second rate and always be never achieving what her life could have been and what it could be because of this decision. There's really no way out, she believes. What would you say to her?
I would say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But here's what I found out. That we serve a God who loves us. And there is life after an abortion, and he will forgive you for an abortion. You are still just as valuable than the moment you walked into that abortion clinic, than the moment before. I would say seek out someone like me who would be honored and privileged to help you, who will not judge you or condemn you, but will love you and show you compassion because you deserve it. I would say find your local pregnancy resource center for the resources they have as well for after abortion recovery. But you are not alone. There are millions and millions and millions of women just like you, and men as well, who are suffering. We cannot forget the men. I met a woman very recently who'd been 18 and 19 years since her 2 abortions. And every time she went to look for help and Googled, am I depressed because of my abortion? Am I doing this because of my abortion? Nothing ever came up except lies telling her something must be wrong with you, basically. There is no correlation. When she met other women, including me, who told our stories in a room together, and she heard our pain, and she heard our heartache, and all that we had to deal with, because we all chose abortion, she smiled, Brad, and she looked around the room. And she said, my healing has just begun because I thought I was alone. And hearing your stories and your pain and heartache is what I've dealt with for 19 years, believing I was crazy or something was wrong with me. So that's why it's so important for people like me to speak out, because it gives the courage to those. And it doesn't mean that you have to think, now I've got to tell everybody about my abortion, because you don't. But if you'll just tell somebody you trust, reach out to someone who can help you, God will redeem your life and it will be beautiful again. I promise. Will it ever be the same as it could have been? No, we chose something that we shouldn't have chose. But I can promise you, I'm a testimony. I have a good life. I have 4 daughters who are married to 4 wonderful men that I never thought would happen. I thought God would punish my daughters. They've married men that have treated them the way I never was treated before. And that makes me have so much joy to see them have that. I have 10 grandchildren that I never thought I would have. The blessings God's given me, a woman who chose abortion, are proof again and again and again how much he loves you. So don't give up hope. You're not alone. And I would be honored to help you start that walk and that journey to full healing.
No, that's beautiful, and I know you will, because I know who you are. Tell them again the name of your group, so we'll put the link on this so that people can look for you. What's the name of your group again?
It's my organization is Reassemble,
Reassemble.
and the website is Reassemble. Reassemble is the name of my nonprofit. ReassembleLife.com is the website.
Okay.
You can also find it if you forget that. You can also find it. Just put my name, VictoriaRobinson.org. Either one will take you to the same site, and write me through there.
As well as the books.
And I'm on social media too. Facebook,
yes.
Instagram. The books are on Amazon. Amazon bought my publishing company, Brad. So if you don't want to support Amazon, I've already had people ask me, can I get my book in a different way? Reach out to me, and we can do that as well. You can get it through me. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. You can message me there as well. If you're struggling right now with trying to decide whether you want an abortion or not, and you're on the fence, please reach out to me. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just want you to know the help that's available to you before you choose, because once you choose, you can't go back.
Right. No, God bless you, Victoria. You've got a great life and great legacy, and there's a lot more to come. But I'm just so grateful for warriors like you. We have to be on our guard. Something's coming with this Roe thing, and so we need to know what that means. And as believers in America, we're responsible for how we respond to the hate, the vitriol, the malice, the evil that's about to be unleashed, because we're talking about some very lost, blind, broken human beings that obviously need God, because there's no accounting for how they find this to be appropriate behavior towards something so incredibly heinous as the destruction of a child. But you give hope, and I'm so grateful. We're going to definitely do this again. Heck, I'm close to hopefully getting my little studio to where I can have guests on live, and you're a local, so I want you to come and be one of my first guests live. And I'd really like to talk about that not talked about subject of men and abortion and where they
I would love that, Brad. I would love it. Let's set that up. I'd love to be there with you, and that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry.
Thank you. God bless you, Victoria. I hope you sell a whole bunch of books. Keep fighting the good fight, and I'll see you soon. See ya. All right, White. Put us back on. Thank you, babe. See ya.
Bye-bye.
You got it? I hope you appreciate that. I'm not plugged in here. Oops. Hang on. Oh, well.
Professional stream, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of professional, periodically.
It's,
so, folks, that was Victoria Robinson. Get her book, which is They Lied to Us, and They Lied to Us Too. And make sure that you check out Reassemble. Did you see reassemblelife.org? And or if you know somebody, a woman that has had this experience, so you might want to send her that way. You know, as you guys know, those who have been watching for a long time, we're still figuring these pieces out. Sorry for the little glitches. They're still going to happen now and again, but we're hopefully getting closer and closer. Right now, I'm trying to do a little campaign for $500. We found out with the guy that's helping get all of these clips that go out on the internet. He showed us a couple more things we need. One is a router that allows 2 cameras, both Blackmagics, this is one of them, to go into this adapter. That way I'll have 2 cameras. Why do I need that? Because the other camera will then shoot my guest, who will be here. Oh, and I heard some little music. Did you do that, Wyatt?
Yes.
Aw, you chose fairy music. Sweet.
Listen, I forgot what all these do, and I will not hesitate to press one at random if you ever comment on the fairy music again.
Wyatt's found a button, folks. Beware. So we're trying to get that. We need a couple more cables for that, and then we're gonna get another teleprompter, which is the one I have. But this one allows me to look at my guest straight into this camera as opposed to switching down to this little laptop, which means I can get rid of the laptop. It won't be in my way, and I'll get to look straight ahead and talk to my guests. So I'm really excited. It's about $500 to get this stuff. So I still have the original Rebel Without a Curse CDs. I still have a handful of them left. For those who are interested in donating, it is a tax-deductible ministry, God's Comic Ministries. So if you want that, just say, I'd like to donate. I want to get a CD that will never be reprinted, will never exist again. I think I might have 20 at the most altogether. If you say, I want one, and you donate as much as you can, we're trying to reach $500. I will sign it to you personally. I will ship it to you. And this is my gift to you for helping us grow this. And once we get those pieces of the puzzle, hopefully soon and very soon, you can see the kind of guests that I can get. And there's going to be even more interesting people that I'm just holding off for until I feel that we really can do this thing flawlessly. And as long as we get them equipment and figure this out, I think we can get there. But as long as Wyatt is running the buttons, God only knows. Son, anything else to say before we...
I told you.
Hey, that's pretty good. You did the wah, 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 wah.
I pressed it at random. I told you I would just press buttons at random.
It was
You made
perfect,
fun of me and my button pressing
perfect.
skills.
I want to say thank you to everybody out there that watched. I hope you enjoyed this. Tell me things you liked about it, things you didn't want. Guests you might want me to get on. Remember, I'm in Nashville. I know a lot of these folks. I'm telling you, some incredible things are coming. But this is God's Comic. Brad Stine, and Brad Stine Has Issues, where comedy, Christianity conservative, and collide in cacophony of clarity. PC free is liberty. And remember, folks, I want America to reawaken its remembrance of what it made to make America great. Our faith must be restored, and virtue and morality must be brought back, and truth-telling must be told at all times. So, that's what my podcast is trying to do, and if you believe in it, you can help make it happen. God bless you. See you next Monday. Remember, Brad Stine, God's Comic, putting the woke back to sleep. God bless.